I want to go back to something you said a minute ago about money being neutral, because there's an extreme view that money is evil, and that tends to lead more to asceticism, just this rejection. Then there's also this view that money's good and it helps with everything, and we witnessed that in this country, consumerism and materialism.
Right.
But contrast those a little bit for us and talk about how you believe money's neutral and why you think it's a tool.
Yeah. Well, certainly historically there's been this problem of asceticism where people thought money and material things are intrinsically evil. That's not nearly as common anymore. I mean, if you look at our culture as a whole, probably that's not something most people are guilty of. Even within the church, not as common as it used to be. But one of the downsides is it leads to a very legalistic and judgmental attitude. Like if you are sitting and enjoying a good meal, that there's something wrong with that, whereas Scripture says God has given us these things for our enjoyment. He's the creator. There's a great movie called Babette's Feast. Have any of you seen Babette's Feast? Yes, some of you have. I highly recommend this movie. I talk about it in my Heaven book, but that it's kind of the say no to asceticism and enjoy the beauty and the bounty that God has provided. And you can do that without guilt. That is, you can have this great meal, this great feast that's put on, and enjoy that. Jesus promises us great feasts in his kingdom. And he feasted with his disciples in Scripture. Look at the Old Testament. It's full of feasts and festivals. My book on happiness, I talk about it. It's amazing what you see in Scripture. The more common problem, of course, is materialism. And materialism doesn't just dominate our culture, it tends to dominate the church. Sadly, the church is, while we're supposed to be influencing our culture, generally we tend to be more influenced by our culture. And one of the sad things that you see in churches today is health and wealth gospel, prosperity theology, based on half-truths. There are promises in Scripture about give and it will be given to you, Jesus said in Luke 6, and it'll come back to you, spilling out of your lap. But why does it come back to you? So you can just keep it in your lap? No. 2 Corinthians 8 and 9 says, you will be made rich in every way so that you may be what? Generous on every occasion. The only way to break the back of materialism in our lives, the only way to say no to mammon, the money god, is to give, and to give generously and deliberately, and to give to the Lord, and to fulfill the great command to love the Lord our God with all our hearts, and to love our neighbor as ourselves.